Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for being here today. Today's video is the final instalment of my 2025 opening beauty inventories, and today's inventory is the skincare inventory. Overall, in terms of where skincare is sitting, it's a little bit higher than I would like. So it's not like hair care where I feel like it's more or less under control. There's definitely a couple of goals that I'm setting, some things that I want to cut down on a bit this year. However, it is one of the categories that I always use the most of each year. So although it's a little bit of an area for concern, I feel like it's coming down and it's going in the right direction. So hopefully this year will be another big step towards that right direction. So let's get on into it. The first part of the video will be the inventory, the numbers, the values, and the second part will be the goals. So let's discuss. Starting off with the inventory numbers, eye makeup removers, I'm opening with one item in that category worth $7.95. Then slightly bigger, I have my face makeup removers. I have 4 of those and they're worth a total of $115.58. Cleansers is my first really pretty big category. So I have 18 of those worth $258.51. I think that's partly because cleansers end up in gifts with purchases and gift sets and things because they are such a sort of straightforward item. Although if you get the wrong cleanser it can really muck your skin up. They are quite a kind of generic item in a lot of ways, so I think it's not that I buy a lot of cleanser or anything like that. I think that number has been inflated by getting them in gift sets and things. I've also slightly moved away from the second cleanse. Maybe that's a bit scandalous to say, but I feel like the Lisa Eldridge makeup remover that I use, the face makeup remover, I feel like that does a good enough job that I don't need a second cleanse. And because that is like a mask and a cleanser in one, I actually sometimes use that in the morning, even though I'm not using it as a makeup remover, as a cleanser anyway, because I let it sit on my skin whilst I'm brushing my teeth before removing it. So I feel like I go through what is technically in the face makeup remover category more quickly than I do cleanser, because part of that category is starting to replace cleanser for me. So I think that's partly why that is such a big category, but that is definitely one we'll be setting a goal on at the end of the video. Toners, I have 2 of those worth $60. I have 1 essence worth $76. Serums are my second big category that we've come across, so I have 14 of those worth $750 exactly. On to facial oils, I have 5 of those worth $149.73. For retinol products, I have 10 of those and they are worth a total of $296.07. Eye products, I have 18 of those and they are worth a total of $407.07. For moisturiser, that's another pretty big category, I have 22 of those worth $777.78. I think you can tell from the large quantity but the smaller number relatively of the value, a lot of those are not full sized. So hopefully that's the category I'll be able to bring down a bit this year. SPFs, I am opening with 8 worth $212.06. On to face masks, I have 20 of those worth $543.60. And then for sheet masks, I have 34 of those worth 286 cents. Oh, 286 cents, that would be lovely, $286. On to my category that I call treatment products, so that's kind of a sort of catch-all for random products that aren't really a face mask, aren't really a retinol, but are some kind of treatment-y based product. So things like breakout kind of related items, pore strips, things like that. So I have 15 items in that category worth $147.50. And then peels and exfoliators, I have 14 of those worth $266.60. And then for facial sprays, I have 2 of those worth $70. On to the body products. For body scrubs, I have 4 of those worth $91.60. Body washes, I am opening with 5 of those worth $82.20. For body masks, I have 1 of those worth $24. Bath products, I have 7 of those worth $105.80. Body moisturiser, this is another pretty big category. I have 22 of those worth $709.69. For hand cream, I have 5 of those worth $101.48. Foot products, I have 3 of those worth $40. And that is the end of the individual categories. So the total value of my skincare inventory for opening 2025 is $5,584.22, and that is composed of 240 items in total. So now that we've discussed the numbers, let's discuss the goals that I'm setting. Like with many of the goals that I've set in the other 3 inventories, it's mostly focused on if I've got a double figure number, either bringing it down to like a lower double figure number to make the single figure number next year's goal, or if it's a sort of realistically lower double figure number, bringing it down to single figures. For the most part, there is one category that kind of falls outside this, but we'll talk about that. So the first one is of course cleansers. As I said, my first big category. I have 18 of those that I'm opening with, and my goal is to get that down to 12. So I would like to use 6 of those by the end of the year. As I said, I am quite often reaching for the Lisa Eldridge one, which is a makeup remover in terms of how it's categorised on my inventory, and that is definitely impacting on how much cleanser I'm getting through. So I will need to make a conscious effort to stop doing that and start reaching for my proper cleansers, but fingers crossed we will manage 6 this year. As with all my other inventories, the goals that I am setting, so the likes of that one having an opening quantity of 18 and a closing quantity of 12, if I don't bring any in, the goal is to use up 6, but if I offset any that I've used by bringing one in, I am still then aiming to use an extra one to get that closing number still to be 12. So that is, the goal is to end on 12, not just to use 6. So hopefully it'll also curb me bringing any in. That's the theory there. Then for serums, I have 14 of those that I'm opening with, and my goal is to get that down to 5. That sounds like quite a big goal, but I do think that's quite doable. Some of those serums have been in like gifts with purchases or whatever. They're mini sized. Even some of the ones that are full size are actually near enough empty. You know, there were ones that I had last year that I have, if not finished in Q1 of this year, will be finishing quite quickly. So I'm hoping that's actually quite doable. Oil, this is my sort of exception category. I'm opening with 5 of them, so it's not, as a number, a hugely problematic category, but oil is slightly like cleanser. It's one of those categories that I don't really move through all that much. I am quite oily skinned, so I'm not often looking to add extra oil to that. So my goal is to get that down to 3. So I'm only aiming to use 2 up, so that is like a half of a facial oil per quarter. So it should hopefully be quite doable as long as I keep it in mind. But because it's not a key part of my routine, it is something I do forget that I have and that I need to work through. So I'm putting a goal in so that I am forced to reflect on it even at the end of the quarter and remind myself like, oh, I hit that goal, I need to make an effort to pick a facial oil up and start using it. Retinols, I'm opening with 10. I want to get that down to 6, so that is 1 per quarter. Again, I have deluxe samples, mini sizes, etc. in there, so I'm hoping that will be realistic. The next category that I'm setting a goal on are my eye products. So I'm opening with 18 of those, and my goal is to actually get that down to 9. So that sounds like quite a dramatic reduction, but my eye product category is not simply just eye creams, it is also eye masks and under eye patches, things like that. So there are a lot of one-use treatment products in there that I am hoping it's realistic to expect to reduce by. So fingers crossed. I am also setting a goal on my moisturiser category. So I have 22 of those, and my goal is to get that down to 15 by the end of the year. Moisturiser, I think, is probably a little bit similar to what I was saying about cleansers, in that it tends to come in sort of gifts with purchases or gift sets or whatever, because everyone kind of needs a moisturiser, and it can be quite a kind of generic catch-all kind of product that's quite easy to put into these types of things. So I think that's partly why that's become such a big category. But I do think there's quite a lot of like deluxe samples and like trial sizes and travel sizes in my moisturisers. So I am hoping that I will be able to use up enough this year to get me down to 15, even offsetting if a couple come in. So fingers crossed. For face masks, I have 20 of those, and I would like to get that down to 15. So that is one of my bigger categories. I think with that kind of treatment category, as those of you who are not new will be fed up of me saying, I am also doing 2 qualifications this academic year. So kind of kicked off in September last year, running through to summer this year. My last exam is the 24th of June, and I'm doing those 2 on top of working full time. and it does just mean I've got less time to myself. You know, I'm in a class Monday through to Thursday every single night after work, and then I also have to do study and go to the library and spend my time there at the weekends, and also try and see people and socialise. So I'm just not really as on top of my skincare as I would have been previously. You know, I just don't really have the time to be like, oh, I'm going to sit tonight and do a face mask and a body scrub and a body moisturiser and whatever. It is something I'm still trying to work in because it's, you know, it's an act of self-care, and obviously I'm interested in it. I wouldn't have as many of these things as I do if I wasn't interested in it. But I just don't have the time that I used to have to be able to prioritise it in the way that reducing a collection of this kind of size probably needs to be prioritised and focused on. So I think that has slightly impacted last year and will continue to impact in the first half of this year, but things should start kind of loosening off a little bit after Easter. I am then down to only another 2 exams, so February and March particularly, this month and next month for me, are absolutely packed, totally wild with deadlines. It's just basically one thing after another, and then I've got quite a few deadlines at the start of April, but May is pretty quiet, and then June my 2 exams are at the end of the month. So I'm hoping from sort of May onwards my sort of time to myself will slowly start to increase, and then from summer I should have a bit more time to spend on myself. Although I am planning to do the level that I'm doing for one of the qualifications this year, I'm planning to do the next level next year, so it will kind of kick off again, but I am only doing one next year. So I'm hoping basically the second half of this year my usage of things will ramp right up, and particularly things like face masks that are sort of treatment product that are not part of my everyday routine. Hopefully be able to be focusing on them a little bit more. And the last category that I am setting a goal for is body moisturiser. So I'm opening with 22 of those, and again I would like to get that down to 15. I have actually been maybe not quite diligent but semi-diligent with keeping up my body moisturising, but I have been working on, if you guys have been with me for a while, my birthday is in July, so not July 2024 but 2023, I got one of the really big Sol de Janeiro tubs. I think it's like a 500ml. So I have actually been working on using that up, which means that I think last year quantity wise I didn't quite see the reduction that I would have liked, but I am nearly finished that one, and I think once that one's gone I can then probably concentrate on a couple of the smaller ones to try and get moving through those. So I think I've kind of stalled my use there last year, partly as I said with time, but also because I have been concentrating on this like mega jumbo tub that I've got, rather than kind of getting through a lot of the smaller ones that I could have used up more of, you know, using the same amount of product, but because they're smaller would have used more quantity wise than I have done. So I'm hoping once that one's finished it will be realistic to finish another 6 on top of that, and possibly even more. We will see. Those are the individual goals, but I have also set some total goals. So my opening quantity total for my skincare is 240 items. I would like that down by the end of the year to 175, and I think that will be quite doable. I'm not too worried about that. In terms of the products that I've actually already set goals on, so I want to reduce by 6 cleansers, 9 serums, 2 oils, 4 retinols, 9 eye products, 7 moisturisers, 5 masks and 7 body moisturisers. So that is a total of 49 items just across those categories, and I'm sure I'm going to use up products in other categories. So on top of hitting those 49 goals, I'm really just saying that I want to finish another 16 items. I think that will be really doable, so I don't think it should be a problem to get down to 175 items. The slightly loftier goal that I have set is that I'm opening with value of $5,584.22, and I would like to reduce that by $2,585.22, which would take me down to $2,999. So coming down from a 5 to a 2 at the start, trying to think about prioritising some of my more expensive products, which is not a bad thing, because obviously if I've got a lot of products, particularly the more expensive ones, I don't want them to sit there and go off, although I'm setting mainly quantity goals. And I do find generally that if you focus on the quantity, you kind of get the value as an add-on, but I am setting a specific value goal here. so that I do think about prioritising those more expensive premium products so that I'm getting them when they're at their best rather than using them in 2 years' time when they've probably expired. But I'll probably still have them to use them up. So yeah, those are all my goals. So that is everything for today's video, and this is the final update for my 2025 opening figures. It is basically nearly the end of February, so you will probably be seeing my Q1 empties in the not too distant future, and then we'll be back to updating the inventories. So yeah, you'll be probably sick of hearing about these, but for me this is a really useful way to monitor what I'm using, what I'm bringing in. So I hope it's interesting for you guys to watch. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!